It's hard to go from mining in one place to mining in another, and a lot of miners get it wrong. For example, Parker Schnabel didn't just find gold, he dug up something ancient and hidden deep in the frozen ground that gave everyone on the crew chills. What began as a normal dig turned into a fight against floods, ice, and something buried that wasn't gold. Machines sank, pumps disappeared, and millions were almost lost in a pit that— Let us take you back to the moment Parker's excavator hit something smooth, strange, and not of this time. Parker Schnabel had been looking for a big claim for years. Finally he had one. Everyone thought he would be thrilled, but Parker knew this land was going to be a real pain. What began as a search for treasure turned into a muddy mess full of ice floods and old bones, really old bones. And deep below the surface something waited, something that should have never been disturbed. At first it was all about that sweet yellow metal, but while digging through a frozen spot, the excavator hit something solid, not rock or junk, that was smooth, curved, and stuck in hard ice. The crew pulled it out and cleaned it, not shiny, not metal. It was a woolly mammoth tusk that was thousands of years old and still looked brand new. It wasn't the only one. The land had more big white frozen secrets that collectors go crazy over. Ivory this clean can be worth millions of dollars, but Parker didn't rush to sell. The man didn't want the mountain of papers that came with it. He wanted the story. He kept the tusks, cleaned them, and put them in his private collection, next to huge teeth and other strange things. These weren't just decorations, they were proof that the land held more than just gold, but the dirt wasn't done surprising him. During another dig, his bucket caught what looked like a thick tree root, but it wasn't a tree, it was a rock. Other teams were also finding the same strange things. Tony Beats pulled one out of another site that looked like a jawbone at first, but it was actually a frozen relic from a very long time ago. These things were older than any coin or piece of gear they were looking for. The gold was the goal, but what time had buried was the real treasure. Later in Australia, Parker found a copy of the biggest gold nugget ever found. It was called the Welcome Stranger, and it was so big that old-timers had to break it into 3 pieces just to get it out. It's long gone and melted into bars, but 2 copies are still around. That moment reminded Parker that this game was about more than just ounces. It was about chasing legendary things. Then the real mess started. At a place called the Wolf Cut, Parker thought he had found the jackpot. Millions of dollars were waiting underground. The good thing about where the pump is now is that it's high enough to be dry, and the suction hose should still be deep enough in case that breaks over there. The ground fought back with water buckets. It started as a small trickle and some mud, but the walls of the pit gave way, and the whole thing turned into a lake. Machines got stuck, pay dirt was buried, and millions of dollars were lost. Parker wasn't even there when it happened, but his crew rushed to get more pumps, run hoses, and dig a deep hole to drain the water. For a while it looked like they had it under control, but the frozen dirt had other ideas. The ice had been stopping the water, but when it broke, a hidden tunnel opened up and 10 million gallons of water came pouring in. They tried to stop it, but the main pump was missing when they woke up in the morning. It had sunk under 4 feet of water, and someone had to paddle across to pull it out. Parker was looking for a 30-foot deep pay layer, but they had to cut through frozen mud at the edge of an old pond all the way there. Every hour they lost more money, because one problem was fixed, and another one came up. One wall broke, then the pump, then the other wall. The team pushed as the hours went by, hoping to get out more than 1,000 ounces, which is more than $14 million. One mistake could have ruined the whole season. Then they hit gold, not just a few ounces, but a full-on streak of the kind of stuff that makes crews forget about the cold. It almost changed everything, because even with that win, Parker was facing a huge $15 million debt. Every mistake cost a lot of money. Winter was coming quickly. The claims still needed work. Parker's right-hand man Tyson had to move the 90,000-pound wash plant. They had to take it apart, move it uphill, and put it back together before the sun came up. There was no room for mistakes. Tyson did a good job, but the job showed how close everything was to falling apart. One bolt broke, one wrong move, and it was over. Once they started digging again, The gold started coming in, over 8,000 ounces. That's $14 million. Every hour was still a risk that season. It wasn't just about shiny rocks, it was a battle against cold, wet ground, time and breakdowns. Parker found gold, but what he really found was how crazy mining can get. The deeper they dug, the further the earth pushed back. Ice turned to mud, and mud turned to rivers. Pumps ran day and night, and the crew looked like zombies, tired, dirty, and locked in. Some days they drained 10 million gallons of water just to keep digging, and other days they watched it flood back in. Just when things looked like they were going well, something bad happened. The wash plant site got wet, and the machine started sinking. The crew had to drag in wood to keep it from falling over. Tyson and the rest of the team worked non-stop, with no breaks or shortcuts. They only had one chance to find gold before the ground froze solid. When they finally stood next to the cleanout tray and saw the pile of gold, there were no cheers, just quiet looks of relief, exhaustion, or even shock. I just got the 750 back, which is the best news I've had all the seasons. Total was 8,118 ounces, which is $14 million worth of gold. But Parker also had $364,000 worth of gold on the line. He took a chance, moved the wash plant, and it paid off, but he was still in debt because every machine needed fixing and every crew member needed to be paid. The operation was huge, the pressure was even higher, and he was still looking for more. In the Dominion claim, Parker had another big chance, but the land was too dangerous. It was hard and hot, and everyone was on edge because they were moving the plant again. Tyson set the goal of getting it up and running before the next sunrise. One of the machines they had to move weighed more than 90,000 pounds, and they used a big excavator to carry pieces up a steep hill. It wasn't easy or safe, but they did it. Piece by piece, they put it back together. The conveyor hopper frame and everything else had to be perfect. Once it stood tall on its new pad, the crew took a deep breath. For the first time in weeks, they felt ready for the next load of pay. All eyes were on Parker because there was gold worth $364K, and everything was in order again. But could he keep it coming? Just when Parker thought the storm was over, someone else did something that shook the mining world in a whole new way. It was Todd Hoffman's comeback written in cold soil that woke everyone up. What did Hoffman do? He bought a brand new gold mine in the Yukon. Yes, that's right, way up in that wild, cold place where you can lose a people on the internet. Didn't wait around to start rumors that Todd might be planning another run for the camera. A comeback with a new crew and a bunch of broken down machines in the middle of nowhere. It's possible that Todd wasn't just a background character on that gold show. He helped make the whole thing happen. It was his idea to chase shiny dirt in Alaska with his father Jack and get a crew to film it from the very beginning to the end of the season. 8th, that guy was in the spotlight making big plans and tripping over even bigger problems. There were some wins, but there were also disasters you could feel through the TV screen, claims that didn't hold up to close scrutiny, machines that coughed up their last breath halfway through the job, fights where dreams were screamed and then crushed by rocks. People watched it all, some cheered for him, others rolled their eyes, but they kept watching, and a lot of them stayed even after he left the set. Fans noticed that the show's rough and tumble energy dropped when Todd left after season 8. They missed the Hoffman family rolling through ice and mud like a gold-hungry circus act. But a couple of years later, Todd came back and said, "All right, Dad, why don't you guys get ready for the very last cleanup? We're going to be pulling mats up here, and that'll be it. Last cleanup, then winterize." This time he was with a new series where he tried to pull another crumbling mine back from the edge. Hoffman Family Gold was the name of the show, and it ran for 3 seasons, ending in the summer of 2024. The last straw was a short online post that disappeared as quickly as snow in spring. Todd said that the network let their deal run out, and that was it. No more filming, no more crew, no one knows the real story. Maybe the ratings dropped too low. Maybe Todd wanted more control behind the scenes. Maybe someone just didn't want another season of broken dreams and excavators. The show ended, But Todd didn't stop looking for gold. In late March 2025, he went public again and said he bought a gold mine in the Yukon and might be thinking about buying another one. This time it wasn't just a vague hint. That was all it took for the rumors to start flying. People started to wonder if this was just about mining or if the cameras were taking a break for another season. Some fans cheered, "Bring back the crew, bring back the chaos." Others looked more closely to see how he was paying for all of these mines in the Yukon. Moving dirt in that cold doesn't come cheap either. Maybe he found investors, maybe the TV people are talking again, or maybe he hit it big with one of his side projects. People dream about the Yukon, but it's not easy. It's full of old stories and way harder than it looks. Snow comes early, roads disappear, and everything costs a lot. If Todd decides to settle down there, he's not just chasing sparkly rocks, he's committing to freezing wind, strict rules, and huge bills. And Todd hasn't been quiet. He's been dropping hints like breadcrumbs, flying over large areas of land with no voiceover. Just a shaky camera posting here and there about plans and dreams, but never the whole picture. Last month someone saw him looking at a bulldozer. He wasn't just browsing, he was seriously looking at it. Shift means even longer, hard hours at night. They're tired and worn out, but we have to keep pushing all the way to the goal line, especially since our equipment keeps breaking down and we're losing hours. People who watched the first show remember the mess it made when machines broke down, crews got stuck, and dreams went off the rails before breakfast. They also remember the faces of his father Jack and his longtime partner Dave. They were a big part of what made the show popular, and if Todd can get them to watch again, things might get louder. Still, some people don't forget the crazy moves, the big promises that didn't come true, and the expensive vacations to faraway places that turned out to be empty. People still laugh about Guyana. That one was a gold-seeking disaster, but people couldn't stop watching. Maybe Todd's better now. Maybe there's a new plan for more thinking and fewer breakdowns. But no one watches TV for boring spreadsheets and quiet meetings. They want to see trucks stuck in mud, hoping to ride out on the last gallon of gas. That's what got people talking. Some fans even made jokes. Maybe Parker Schnabel sold some rusty equipment for a sky-high price. People online love making up crazy stories. There's been no official word from the TV network about a new show or season, but it's hard to miss the rumors. If Todd brings back the whole crew, things are going to move in that Yukon. Todd's still got that spark. His name alone draws people in, whether they believe him or not. He makes noise and swings hard, whether he's winning gold or losing. People watch not because it's always pretty, but because it's never boring. Right now all that's known is that Todd Hoffman bought a new mine, and there may be another one on the way. He's been filming on the plane and may be considering another round under the lights. He hasn't made any promises or given a big speech, but it's all been loud enough to get people talking again. While the big names were in the news, one man worked hard behind the scenes until it all hit him. The son who stayed in the cab, Mike, has been hauling rocks and fixing gear since he was a teenager. This wasn't some backyard job either. It was Yukon-level bone-chilling machine-busting gold mining, and you'd never know it. While his sister and brother moved up in the company, Mike stayed where the dirt hits the boots, always behind the scenes and under the heavy shadow of his father. His father was a giant in the mining world. He ran huge sites, made lots of money and yelled orders like a drill sergeant. Mike's fortune is more than $15 million, and he makes about $500,000. That sounds like a lot, but it's really just a small part of the old man's wealth. And that's before you count how much his siblings make running the business. Mike never sought attention from the cameras. He was content to stay in the cab of those big rigs moving dirt and gravel. He could drive anything, fix almost anything, and make sure the crew never fell behind. "Are you okay, Mikey?" "I'm fine." But skill didn't mean less stress. His dad kept things tight, and mistakes were frowned upon. The stress was felt most in silence. His dad called twice, but Mike didn't answer. It wasn't a bad signal. Mike just didn't answer. One day, a big machine broke down, and his dad called again. This time Mike didn't answer, and his voice was cold, saying he wasn't interested. Cameras rolled, but Mike couldn't be reached. Later things took a bad turn when Mike was moving a wash plant, a huge machine that weighed more than 25 tons, and trying to handle a tight turn. The plant tipped, dust flew, steel crashed, and the whole thing slammed into the ground. The crew jumped in to film it, but Mike wouldn't have any of it. He told them straight out, touch that camera, and it would be gone. His dad came home and saw the damage. The look on his dad's face said it all. Mike said he wasn't speeding, and that it was just bad luck, but his dad wasn't listening. The tension between them was clear in every glare and unspoken word. What makes Mike unique isn't just what he does at work, it's what he does after work too. He trains in armored sword battles from the Middle Ages. It's not what you'd expect, but it fits. While other people brag online, Mike disappears. No updates, photos, talk about his family. No one knows if he's married, dating, or just keeping things quiet. He started working as a miner when he was 13 and learned everything on the job. He never asked for a title or praise. He just kept showing up day after day, year after year. He was quiet and real. Is Mike hiding something, or is he just tired of being seen? Leave your thoughts below, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe.